Alibaba just made the Qwen story a lot more specific. This is not just a bigger benchmark card. It is a coding agent's pitch. Quick note before we start, ConductorOSS.com works with all coding agents in the current setup, fully local. What makes this post worth breaking down is that Alibaba is trying to do two launches at once. First, a flagship model launch. Second, an agent product launch. The tweet leads with exactly the kind of numbers people screenshot: 61.6 on Terminal Bench 2.0, 86 on MMMU, and a line about handling full dev loops from plan to deploy. But the clip does not stop at scores. It goes out of its way to show coding outputs, creative outputs, and a business workflow interface. That matters because the market has moved. Frontier models are no longer judged only by benchmark tables. They are judged by what kind of workflow they can actually sit inside. Alibaba clearly understands that. This launch is trying to make Qwen feel less like a model you compare on paper and more like a system you would actually plug into coding tools and enterprise agent flows. The official Alibaba blog makes the positioning even clearer. Qwen3.6-Plus is not framed as a minor refresh. Alibaba says it ships with a 1 million token context window by default, stronger agentic coding, better multimodal reasoning, and more stability than the last release. The blog also says the model is available through Alibaba Cloud Model Studio and can plug into real assistant surfaces like OpenClaw, Claude Code, and Qwen Code. That is the strategic move. They are not just saying, here is a smart model. They are saying, here is a hosted model that wants to live inside the coding tools people already use. That is why the OpenClaw mention matters. It signals distribution through agent workflows, not just through raw API bragging. And once a model is being sold through workflows, the real question stops being how good is the benchmark and becomes how much useful work can this thing actually complete. Now look at how the clip is structured, because it is smarter than a typical model promo. It opens on a clean Qwen3.6-Plus title, then immediately surrounds that title with a collage of outputs, code, UI, 3D scenes, design mockups, and agent-looking surfaces. That quickly tells you this is a broad capability launch, not one isolated demo. Then the video gets more explicit. You get labels like coding and agent, plus language about a comprehensive capability leap forward and intelligent agent programming. After that, the strongest benchmark-backed sequence lands. There is a prompt to create a three-dimensional snow mountain scene with a Japanese-style temple inspired by Breath of the Wild, and next to that you see benchmark bars for SWE Bench Pro at 56.6 and Terminal Bench 2.0 at 61.6. Then the scope broadens into game production, web design, bug fixing, and 3D models. That is a deliberate choice. Alibaba wants the viewer to see Qwen as useful across the whole development surface, not just code repair or not just chat responses. The final third of the clip is what makes this more than a benchmark flex. Alibaba pivots from coding into workflow automation. A chat interface labeled Qwen starts producing a project weekly report, assigning owners, drafting a client email, updating schedules, creating to-dos, and setting up a meeting. The clip ends on a completed state, basically saying the work is done. That is a clever marketing move because it turns the model from coder into operator. But this is also where you have to stay honest. The UI looks convincing, But we do not know from the clip alone how much of this is a live integration versus staged interface choreography. We do not know if the email was truly sent, if the calendar action was real, or if the workflow survives messy edge cases. So the right reading is not that Alibaba already solved enterprise agents. The right reading is that Alibaba knows exactly how to package an agent story, and it is using that story to reposition Qwen as a workflow engine instead of just a model with better scores. That is the bigger takeaway here. Frontier models are now being sold on what kind of agent they can become. Qwen3.6-Plus is being presented as something that can reason, decode, see, use tools, and operate across both developer and business workflows. That is a much stronger story than just saying the model got better. It is also why the official OpenClaw and Claude Code support language matters. Those are the surfaces where serious users will actually test whether the promise holds up. Quick note before we close. Conductor.com is fully local in the current setup and works with all coding agents. The repo and coding agent screenshots are on screen because they show the local operator side of the same trend. Alibaba is pushing the hosted flagship side. Conductor represents the local command center side. Different deployment style, same market shift. Models are not enough by themselves anymore. They need workflow surfaces, tool execution, and a believable story about completing real work. So the real signal is simple. Alibaba is trying to move Qwen out of model discussion and into workflow discussion. That is the right direction. The clip is strong product theater, the official blog adds real substance, and the next thing that matters is whether reliability catches up to the ambition. Conductor.com works with all coding agents in the current setup and stays fully local.